What's good, my people? Flash Speaks back for another video, man. Just had to do some quick errands real quick, man. So we decided to pull over and talk a little bit. There's a lot going on, man, and just want to holler at y'all real quick, man. All right, so in the world of sports, man, we got a lot going on. We definitely going to get to the Final Four is up, both men's and women. On the women's side, for sure, I want to see, man, a finals with UConn and South Carolina. That's what I want to see, man, because, Paige Beggars, I love her game. You know what I'm saying? And South Carolina, I love the way they play and a lot of players they got. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see UCLA and Texas. You know what I mean? It is what it is. So we got something coming dealing with that soon. But what I kind of wanted to talk about, because it's all over the place right now, is like, man, poor Stephen A. Smith, man. My man can't catch a break nowhere. It's like he really catching it real hard. And everybody got the right to criticize him, not agree with him, all of that, just like he got the right to criticize people. But it seems like ever since the Lebron and Bronny stuff, my man just ain't been able to catch a break for real. And what I'm just hoping, man, is that our criticisms of this man is sincere and that it's not like a crab and barrel mentality, because this is what happens with a lot of us because of the current state that we're in these days and times. We opted for a crab and a barrel mentality, meaning when one of us, and I put it in quotes, at the moment, seems to reach the top in our profession, unfortunately, instead of like we taking that as a sense of pride, that one of us kind of made it and got there, what kind of happens is some of us, or too many of us, decide, we want to bring this nigga down. Like, who do you think he is? You see what I mean? And what I feel like, man, and I'll never contribute to something like that, man, unless it's kind of really deserved. And like, I want us to kind of understand, bro. Like, a lot of people throw out the words, coon, and throw out the words, sell out and all that to a lot of dudes. And like, bro, there's a difference between like a coon and an uppity Negro, right? There's a difference. Sometimes we don't kind of clarify those things because I don't think we have those definitions in our head well. And I think a lot of us haven't studied the history of like, black nationalism, black thought. Like, if you haven't read like books like W.B. Du Bois's books, like, the Philadelphia Negro and stuff like that. And if you haven't read Uncle Tom's Cabin and stuff like that, if you haven't read the books of Booker T. Washington and stuff like that, sometimes these things can get all convoluted. And we don't really like, I think, have a proper understanding of how certain individuals should be like categorized. Like, for example, we look at a Jason Whitlock, for example. That dude is clearly just a coon because he's really a piece of shit who at every turn, he ain't got nothing positive to say or contribute to the community at all. It's just a bunch of criticism. It's coming from a bad place and ill-spirited. It's beyond just being misguided, right? It's one thing to be misguided. It's one thing to be wrong. That's human. But it's another thing to really be devilish in the way you go about it. You understand? That's like him, Whitlock. Now, Marcellus Wiley is almost that bad, but he's more of an uppity Negro. Like, he thinks like he takes the Cricks Rock approach, where he believes one group of people is just called niggers, another group of people is just called black people, and black people, right? He's an uppity Negro. That's a little different. Stephen A. Smith, to me, is not necessarily either one of those. Now, he's starting to get a little uppity sometimes, but he's more like a guy, I believe he means well, who just doesn't always say or do the right thing. And I think he's a little, he's new money. So because he's new money, that is a problem as well. I get into that. But the point is, like, I'm just hoping, man, that a lot of our criticism of the guy isn't rooted in like jealousy or envy and a crab in a barrel thing. And that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say about that. Because I think we got to be careful with that kind of stuff. That's it. But the other thing that's I'm trying to really talk about is and it's related to just the recent thing that happened with him on First Take and Molly Cameron going back and forth about some statements Draymond Green, had made. Because Draymond Green is following this horrible tradition that is being started by guys like J.J. Redick and LeBron James, that you see being precipitated by dudes like, Gilbert Arenas and so on, where they think it's cool. They think it's like cool to just clap back at older people in the community because they not giving you some damn respect you supposed to get. You know what I mean? And this comes from us being cut off from our tradition, bro. And what do I mean by that, being cut off from our tradition? Our tradition, you gotta remember, so we come from a people that honored our elders. We come from a people that honored our ancestors. Okay, now, just so we don't get confused about what I'm talking about, I'm going to say pretty much anywhere in the motherland. Here I'm talking about Africa as well. Anywhere in the motherland, whether you're talking about East, whether you're talking about West, okay? All of our cultures, because we have various cultures, all of our cultures, for the most part, had a tradition of honoring ancestors, and this is just the traditional way of the ancients. This is very much connected and tied to your blessings in life, right? To curse your parents and to curse those that's from your parents' generation, especially when they're the ones that laid the groundwork for you and for what you have, is not a good look, bro. I don't care what tradition you follow, whether you take the Bible as your text, right? The Bible also implies you honor thy parents, honor your mother and father, and by extension, that is the elders, right? In traditional societies, bro, we were, and part of the problem is this. This is part of the problem for real, and like a lot of us are confused because we were cut off. Now we're forced to accept more of this idea of pan-blackness or pan-Africanness, okay? And this is being partly preached by people like guys like Tariq Nasheed, and then guys like Dr. Umar Johnson and stuff like that. Dr. Umar Johnson claims to be a Pan-Africanist, right? Pan-Africanism is something that he got from the great Marcus Garvey and people like that. Now, Marcus Garvey, I don't hold him accountable because he was back in the 1920s and that was a long time ago, right? The problem with Dr. Umar is that he's disingenuous in the fact that he knows that there was no time in the history of Africans that there was a such thing or a concept of Pan-Africanism. That Africa was never just this one unified group. Now you have some people trying to argue that we were kind of unified under ancient Kemet and all of that kind of stuff. No, ancient Kemet may have influenced different parts of Africa, but it was never just this unified Pan-African idea. And this is the part of the problem that we having when he tries to present the black man as they should all think one way and act one way and all this kind of stuff, like shouldn't marry outside of the race and all these types of things, that we should be in one. Now, this is the problem with that whole ideology, is that Pan-Africanism is simply a response to, well, since a lot of you don't like the term white supremacy, we'll call it post-European Enlightenment colonization period, okay? Since like white supremacy is a problem, we'll call it post-European Enlightenment, okay? Prior to the European Enlightenment, right, human beings, in terms of the way they thought, never saw themselves in terms of like color. Never. Okay, you won't find any documents of that. The idea of different races and colors and one being superior to the other started during the European Enlightenment. We're talking about roughly between the 1640s to around 1850, something like that, right? You had the thinking of people like David Hume, right? was it Alexander Kant? What's another one? Voltaire, right? One was a German, one guy was Scottish, and I think the other guy was like one German, one Scottish, the other guy was French, right? Voltaire's French, right? So these guys were writing about different races, and of course they put the white race at the top, right? Which is totally made up bullshit about a white race, okay? But you had the idea of a white race at the top, and of course the Negro race is typically at the bottom. In between, you got Asians and Native Americans. Some of them put the Native Americans under the blacks, and some of all of this kind of stuff, right? These are ideologies that people like stupid ass Elon Musk still is trying to continue, right? So anyway, the Pan-Africanism in this type of thinking is basically a response to that type of stuff. So that's what I mean by pre and post European Enlightenment thinking. Okay, prior to the European Enlightenment, people saw themselves as identifying with different tribes. Okay, so if you were in Africa, either you're Mandinka, you're like West Africa, you're the Mandinka, you're Wolof, you're Igbo, you're Fulani, you're Hausa, you're Wolof, you're Yoruba, you're Bamaleki, you're various different tribes. There's literally hundreds of them that I can go through. Okay, and why I say the European part is crap too is in Europe it was the same thing. Okay, in Europe you were either a Celt, you're either a Celt, you're a Frank, you're an Anglo, you're a Norman, but even not really Normans. Normans were more like you had different Slavic tribes, Yeah, you had Picts, you had Scythians. Basically, they were all tribes, okay? There was no idea of just the Frenchmen or the Englishmen or anything like that. No, you were related to a particular tribe, okay? When we talk about unity, then back to black people here, when we talk about unity doesn't come as a result of like trying to convince, a billion people to all come together somehow and work. And this is why we don't ever get any unity, because you cut off from tribe. The way unity works is like this, okay? To simplify it here, because a tribe is nothing but extended family, okay? You got the family, which is those are in your household, your children, right? And then you got the clan. The clan includes the grandparents, includes the cousins, and so on, the immediate ones. Then the tribe includes the larger, broader family. These are distant cousins, 9 generations removed, so on, okay? Who usually go back to a particular ancestor or a particular culture or something like that, right? It's through unity comes as a result of each tribe having a leader, having a chief, typically is what they call. This was all over the place. You have a chief, you have a wise man, you have and the chief of this tribe comes together with a treaty, and that's how unity happens. To make it to kind of simplify it, let's say me and you, another black man, right? We both have a family. Let's say I got 7 people in my family, okay? Me, wife, and 5 kids, for example. And he has 5 people in his family, okay? 3 kids, him and his wife. Is unity the idea of the 7 people in my family and the 13 people in his family, which will equal 12 people, everybody all getting along and agreeing with each other and on every single point, right? Putting religion to the side and all this stupid stuff Dr. Umar says? Is that unity? No. Unity is when me as the head of my house forms a pact with you as the head of your house, and me holding my people in line that are under me, and you hold those under you in line. Holding your people accountable, me hold my people accountable. That's when you have real unity. You see, the tribe defined what your ethos was, what your thought was, what is good and bad to y'all, what your values are, what your core values are, what honor is, and so on. Your tribe are the ones your tribe is that group that you're accountable to. Okay, your chief and your elders in the tribe is who you're accountable to. Now, what's happening with us though is we don't have the concept of elders. We don't have the concept of a chief. Right now, because it's an innate thing and has always been existing in the human experience, this is why many of us, we formulate gangs and stuff like that, because you're looking to fulfill that thing that is naturally innate to us. This is why you join organizations. This is why you might latch on to a particular religion or particular church or a particular function or whatever. This is why that happens, because these things are innate. It's trying to get the tribe, all right? And tribes, it's natural. That's why, like, if you read in the Bible is all the story about 12 tribes. That's what it's about. It's them documenting, is children of Abraham documenting their experience. That's what the whole Old Testament is. All right. Similar to with the Quran, there's mentioning of the people, God making us into tribes, okay, and nations for particular reasons and so on. I ain't gonna get too deep in it, but what I'm trying to point out is that it's natural. But because we're cut off from that, I found this long ass way. I'm sorry, I'm not able to break things down in a simple way and fast way, but we're cut off from the concept of tribe and the honor that goes to elders and the honor that goes to leaders and leadership. So this is why we all over the place. This is why, like, a guy like Jason Whitlock could be out there just talking crazy. This is why a woman like Candace Owens could be out there just talking crazy. Right? They're just sheep that separate, even though she's doing some good stuff right now in terms of the way she's speaking against that evil ass country in the Middle East. But because she kind of has already offended many people who would be considered part of her tribe, which is the African American tribe, she is not going to receive a lot of help. Okay, not a lot of support when they come for her, which they are inevitably going to do, because she's out there really, speaking on some very dangerous topics. Right? But if you have the tribe there to protect you, that changes things. Because people know that if you harm someone as part of a tribe, and tribal culture, if you're part of a tribe and someone harms you, they know they got to deal with that whole tribe. The whole tribe is coming for their behind. Okay, all on the part of you, because the tribe doesn't want to be viewed as weak. Same thing where you won't go out and violate another tribe or another person, because you have to be accountable for how you make your tribe look. Right? A lot of us, we want to have that, but we don't know how to do it. Like, for example, you have the idea of how, like, when Chris Rock got the shit smacked out of him by Will Smith, for example, right, on TV. You have black people to feel like, oh my God, this is cringe. Why are black people acting like this, right? That's like fake tribalism, right? It's like there's no real authority there. There's no one that Will Smith or Chris Rock has to be accountable to. So it's us just wanting to be able to view ourselves as a tribe when in reality we're not. Right? Will Smith goes up there and does that. He's not accountable to anybody. Right? We just feel a little embarrassed, and that's pretty much it. Whereas if you have the true tribal setup, it's unlikely that Chris Rock would have even offended Will Smith in the first place, because he would be accountable to his people that he's accountable to. Right? But we're living in a post-European Enlightenment and colonization age. So we're so cut off from that reality that we don't, there's innate parts of us that want to have that, but we're so cut off from it, we don't know how to really do it, how to apply it, okay? And there's ways to kind of fix these problems there are solutions, but this video is getting too damn long, and I ain't got time to kind of get into it. But it starts with the family, taking a family situation serious, taking marriage contracts serious, and starting to build from there. But you unite with people who share your ethos. right? In previous civilizations, man, it wasn't enough to just have black skin to be considered part of a tribe. That wasn't enough. No, you got to think the way I think. You got to be about what I'm about. You got to value what I value, right? So someone like a Jason Whitlock, for example, he wouldn't even be considered part of the tribe. He'd be considered like part of the tribe he loves. He thinks like those conservative, down south whites. That's what he is. I don't care what his skin complexion is, right? That was in the previous world, right? Whereas now, everything is based on skin color because guys from the European Enlightenment said that. And that's a problem. All right, now how this relates to Lebron and all of that is it relates from the standpoint of there being no accountability in our community we're so cut off that we don't even think there's anything wrong with what he did. We don't even think there's anything wrong with LeBron James just thinking he's clapping back at maybe guys like a Julius Erving because Julius Erving didn't put him in his top 5. Like, why the hell do you think he has to put you in his top 5? When he's looking at you, all he sees is someone who copied his game. It's your obligation as a younger person, as a younger member, right? To always honor those who came before you. I don't care what they say or did. You get over that. Why? Because you're out there trying to get the blessings. And when they see that type of respect from the younger ones, trust me, that's where the respect of the older people come from. And I know this because, all of my friends, like friends that I've had, their fathers and their uncles and all of them, they love me. Because, when I deal with older guys, I'm always sir. I'm always ma'am. I don't care how he talks or how he acts. I'm sir, I'm ma'am, all of those different things to them. Right? And then once they see that from you, then they'll respond in kind. Right? But a lot of you dudes don't understand that. Like, you think the world owe you something and you need to be getting all this respect and all of that, man. I'm telling you, you misguided. You misguided. I know some of you want to come in the comment section and have stuff to say. Good, because I want to continue this conversation. Matter of fact, we can go live and discuss this stuff if you want. You know what I mean? But that's how I feel about that, man. I think LeBron is wrong. I think Draymond is wrong. All of them are wrong when it comes to that. When it comes to that particular stuff, and they're wrong because they don't know. They don't understand how they're supposed to be. Right? These guys are pampered. They're getting all this money and all that kind of stuff. And that stuff got them deceived when it comes to blessings, man. So, this video done got too long, man. We will be continuing this at some other time. So, I want everybody to have a good day, man. Don't be part of the crab in the barrel mentality. Peace out.